Still not done with my collection. I have many more stories to tell, and on that note, I wanted to start with today with the books. The Ghosts of, I keep doing that wrong. The Ghosts of Ascalon is the first book that came out, and then after that came The Edge of Destiny. Both of the books are not necessarily essential reading material if you're getting into Guild Wars 2, but especially if you played Guild Wars 1 and you're coming into Guild Wars 2, they really do help to bridge the gap, and so I really recommend them. But don't take my word for it. Actually, you are going to have to take my word for it. Here's a quick review of the two books, and I thought I'd do some dramatic readings. So the first story I wanted to share was the Guild Wars Ghosts of Ascalon. It's I would kind of recommend this more if you have played Guild Wars 1, that it definitely covers a lot more of the lore that goes into what bridges the two eras here, from Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2. The book itself is kind of like a heist movie, that the ultimate goal of the group here is to go and steal the Claw of Conur, one of the now dead Char higher ups. That it sounds like that will be the what happens with this sword, how it can lead to the hope that it leads to an alliance between humans and Char after all the fun of Guild Wars 1. Is the goal of the book and the group. You'll meet some of the characters in Guild Wars 2. I won't say, I'll try to keep it spoiler free, but one of the most famous is Dougal Keen, who you can find him on Mariner Island in Lion's Arch, and he talks about some of his adventures. But the theme of the book goes really well with the title, that it is about dealing with the ghosts of people's past, not just racially. You have all the human ghosts in the city of Ascalon. That's going to be the big major threat throughout the book, but also it's about their personal ghosts, and especially just between the different races. That this is kind of the first time we see this dynamic of each of the different races coming together, the same as we'll see in Edge of Destiny. But it gives a lot of exposition of kind of the events of what happened to humankind after the events of the original Guild Wars series of games, and then also to how there's what has happened in all those years since. So it's a really good way. If you've played Guild Wars 1, you'll want to read this. It gives you a little bit of closure, and it's good. So I'd like to take some time now and do a little bit of a dramatic reading from it. I haven't seen anything this odd since I stumbled upon that Hylic fertility ritual, said Golek. Dougal knew exactly what was happening. He'd heard tales of minions created by the Elder Dragons to execute their will, and anyone who might trespass upon their lands. Here in the Dragonbrand, they stood squarely in the Crystal Dragon's territory. Its passage had scarred the land and claimed it as its own. It stood to reason the creatures that lived here would belong to the Crystal Dragon, too. We need to get out of here right now, Dougal said, grabbing Ember's shoulder. She shrugged him off with a growl. We should get to the far side of that hill for cover. No, said Dougal. We need to head in the other direction as fast as possible. We can't go back to the south, said Riona. Those war bands will tear us to pieces. Kylene put a hand on Dougal's arm. What's wrong? She said. Dougal stabbed a finger in the direction of the hill, which had started to shudder. That! As they watched, the hill continued to quiver and shake as if by an earthquake. Although the land that they had stood on seemed as solid as ever, a terrible noise sprang from the hill. It sounded like thousands of glasses shattering all at once. Then the hill raised its head and opened its eyes. So the second book in the series is The Edge of Destiny, the name of the group of these 5 plus some individuals from all across Tyria that hope to save the world from the dragons. This book is actually going to be worthwhile to check out for playing Guild Wars 2 because it gives a lot of the backstory to what the dungeons explore. Excuse the pun. That the different characters you meet, Ear, Logan, Kaith, Soja, and Ritlock, those are your five big boys. Those are the heavies of our whole game that we're looking forward to. So you're going to want to get to know them. What we experience in the game, it looks like, is to kind of re-bring these five heroes back together so they can reform their guild, the Edge of Destiny, and save the world. It's their story. If the first book, The Ghost of Ascalon, is a heist movie, this is a pretty nonstop action adventure. That it starts off and there's a bunch of different things that happen to bring these people together in two different groups to unite them finally in one group against the dragons. And this is the ultimate supergroup rock group of Tyria. That somehow these five are the heaviest hitters, the best and brightest, and the hope is they're going to save the world. Of course, we know since we have Guild Wars 2 as a game, that doesn't quite work out. So this book especially gets you a good introduction to the characters, the stories, the scenarios of Guild Wars 2. It's a fairly quick read because, like I said, the plot moves really quick. You're going to go from one end of Tyria to the other, really get to know a lot of the cultures and things, and it's a good setup. It'll give you a lot of backstory. I don't think it's completely necessary to enjoy Guild Wars 2, but I would recommend it because you will pick up a lot of the lore and the stories that will affect your gameplay and explain a lot of some of the relationships. You'll get to kind of, instead of just hearing about them and seeing the after effects, you'll get to see what actually transpired between these five groups of heroes and why we as player characters need to come in and bring them back together. So, again, a good read, and I would definitely recommend it. I don't think when you're playing the game, this will not necessarily spoil anything, but the game might spoil the book for you. So, there you go. And here they are! Came a new voice at the workshop door, a deep voice that was somehow both jovial and ferocious. Ear and her companions turned to see Captain Magnus the Bloody-Handed. He towered in the doorway, his pistol-strewn bandoliers gleaming in the lantern light. A smile lurked beneath his long mustache. I came all the way from Lion's Arch to toast Destiny's Edge, the slayers of the dragon spawn. And yet no one knew where you were. Here we are, Ear replied. Magnus sighed, his breath ghosting from his nostrils. He stepped into the workshop. Well, anyway, congratulations! Something like that. Magnus set his boot on a nearby chair and leaned toward them all. Now, I need a favor. Logan said, What kind of favor? Help me hunt down and destroy another dragon champion. Ritlock arched an eyebrow. Who is this dragon champion? His name is Morgus Lead, Magnus responded. He rules the black seaways beyond Lion's Arch. He and swarms of undead. They attack ships and tear through the hulls and drop them to the bottom. They kill hundreds of sailors a week and turn them into more undead. Can't you handle a few undead? Ritlock asked. After all, they are pre-killed. One by one, they are nothing, but where there's one, there's 1,000. Logan put in, if you haven't noticed, there are only 7 of us. Yes, but you defeated 1,000 before, Magnus replied, and I have a personal score to settle with this devil Magnus Morgus Lead. In life, he was a Norn like me, captain of the Cormorant before me. Since he fell among the undead, they have known our every move, our every route, our tactics, our vulnerabilities. You need strangers, Ear interrupted. Magnus nodded thoughtfully. You've destroyed one dragon champion. Help me destroy another. We must, Kate said. If we are not yet powerful enough to face down a dragon, we must face down their champions. We must fight them. Logan shrugged. Sounds less dangerous than another night of celebration in Hellbrack. Ritlock growled, I'm not leaving until tomorrow. Kate, Logan, and Ritlock exchanged looks, and Kate spoke. We'll go. Of course we'll go, Ear said. All of us. We go not just because you asked, but to destroy another dragon champion. Wonderful, Magnus proclaimed. Morgus leads, prepare to meet Destiny's Edge.